And you heard the score right
Zero,
there.
serving 0.
0-0 from referee Abe Montijo. Welcome to the Stratosphere in Las Vegas. Daniel Grant from London, England, serving that first serve against Louis Cordova from Chihuahua, Mexico. My name is Dave Vincent, alongside broadcast partner here, Dave Fink, for the World Three-Wall Ball Outdoor Handball Championships.
A real international flair here, Dave, in our first webcasted match. Luis Cordova from Chihuahua, Mexico. His opponent, Dan Grant, from London, England.
Daniel Grant is the national champion in England. There's a quick point right there.
This truly is the World Outdoor Handball Championships, Dave.
Earlier today, we saw Vic DeLuzio from Australia play his first round match in the 70s, taking his opponent fairly quick. We have players from Canada, Mexico, Ireland, Australia, United States, and Mexico, if I didn't say that twice.
That was a great get from Luis Cordova, Dave, from outside the court. For the fans watching at home, Dave, the side walls stop at the short line.
Point.
Dan, primarily a one-wall specialist in England, Dave. He came out here by himself. He's taking a little bit of a holiday. Spent some time in New York, played some one-wall there, and spent last week in Los Angeles, Dave, preparing for this event.
Side out.
That was not a good shot right there from Luis Cordova. Outdoor handball right underneath the Stratosphere Hotel and Casino. Something that you'll see here quite often is the server is not serving in the server's box. You'll see that they'll walk in. Now, Abe Montijo, is our referee, is trying to tell Daniel Grant that you have to serve from inside the box. There it is.
Dan has an excellent serve, Dave, an overhand deep drive serve that's earned him consecutive setups, been unable to put either of those shots away, and there's a great serve from Luis Cordova. Just not much you can do back there, Dave, in the back left corner, staring at that side wall.
5-1.
Score here is 5-1. That's a nice shot right there from Danny Grant, pushing Cordova off the court, and he goes for that stiletto kill in the left corner, but did not get there. Score here is 6-1.
Looked like the right shot there, Dave, was to drive it straight back down the right side behind himself. For our fans watching at home, Dave, I know there's a lot of people on the East Coast tuning in. They're enjoying the beautiful fall temperatures, but here it's about 100 degrees. It's about 123 degrees on the court.
136.
Very difficult, Dave, for these players to catch their breath. I know for a finely tuned athlete like yourself, Dave, it's not much of a problem, but not many go through the off-season cross-training that you do, Dave.
Well, breathing hard is something I do really well, so I know how to do it.
6-1.
Some of these people out here don't know how to breathe hard. I have an advantage.
7-1.
Both these guys in 3 divisions, Dave. Luis Cordova also playing in the men's small ball pro singles, as well as the doubles with his brother Daniel. Luis, Dave, ranked in the top 15 on the WPH Simple Green Race Parade Pro Tour. He's one of the most versatile players in the world, Dave. He also plays a form of handball in Mexico that's a 2-wall game, playing with a bunch of different kinds of balls. You might know it as fronton or pelota,
which translates at times, depending on what state you're in Mexico, they call it fist ball.
1-8.
Score is 1-8. It's 1 game to 25 for the earlier rounds, and you have to win by 2. And the players don't really necessarily like that 1 game to 25, but as soon as you say you win by 2, their faces light up. Oh, really? Win by 2? I like that. watching the World 3-Wall Ball Outdoor Handball Championships alongside racquetball. Over 525 participants in this event. Las Vegas, Nevada at the Stratosphere Hotel and Casino.
This court, Dave, really does bring all the different forms of handball together to really discover who's the best player. It's a combination of 4-wall, 3-wall, and 1-wall, Dave, and we've got the top players from each code competing here.
You are watching this live webcast, and the scoreboard powered by Zions, the makers of Zenergy, the official energy drink of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the UFC, and we have instant replays as well throughout the week. The instant replay also sponsored by Zions. You can see them anytime you watch a UFC fight. First Star Sports is bringing us all the live instant replays and this webcast of the second annual WPHWOR World Outdoor Handball Championships. We want to thank everybody at First Star Sports in Canada for what they have done to help sponsor handball at its finest. And Dave, you know, we're bringing this coverage into high definition, which is one of the very first times that we've been outside and in high definition. For those at home, trying to explain the difference between the old days of handball, the way we first started back when it was really grainy, and what high definition is doing for those of your family that have been watching back at home, watching you play in the courts.
Well, Dave, it's very similar to what we used to watch with the tube TVs. Now we've got the big flat screens in our living room, and it makes the game so much more clear. The knock on handball was always that it's so hard to follow on TV, but now with the advent of HD TV, you can follow the ball like you're on the court with it. It's an amazing innovation that we have here to able to bring you the best players in the world playing at the top of their game, and for you to be able to enjoy it
9-1.
like you're in the court with them.
Well, we're back into action now with Louis Cordova at 9-1. We're going to go back to the court here.
10-1.
Score is 10-1. It's 1 game to 25. Tiebreaker does not exist. 1 game matches is what we call it here.
You see, Dave, a lot of these guys initially upset with the 1 game format, but when you get on the court after about 2 or 3 minutes, Dave, you start to question if you can even make it to 25.
Yeah,
conditions so brutal out there on the court.
I don't know if you watched that series on TV called I Survived, and they'll talk about people who get lost in the Grand Canyon or in the Arizona desert or in Nevada, and those people, about 2 hours of being in the sun, all of a sudden start not caring about the fact that they're even alive. You get these people out here on the handball court, and you're exactly right. They're upset about the 25-point matches, but until they get out there for just a couple long rallies and they want to get back off the court, you're going to see some amazing play from those that want to end rallies quick.
11-1.
11 serves 1.
You can see the 1-wall influence, Dave, in Dan's game. Not too quick to get out of the way when the ball's in the front court. As we know, Dave, in 1-wall, that's the essence of the game, the 1-wall block. Out here, though, Dave, you have to move out of your opponent's way. A nice return there from Luis, and sets up an easy setup there, and he hits that cross-court 5-foot-high pass.
There's a great camera angle right there from the front looking back toward the stands.
11-1.
And it looks as hot as that picture is showing you here on the internet. You see Danny spin that ball right there. Excuse me, it's Louis Cordova, his older brother. Danny Cordova also playing in the pros.
That was the best rally of the match, Dave. Both guys playing a little cat and mouse up there in the front court.
12, serving 1.
Dan from the great city of London, England, Dave, doesn't experience this kind of heat over there in the British Isles.
13-1.
I asked him if this is the hottest temperature he's ever played handball in, and he said, I just shook his head, and he said, I've never even been in this type of temperature in my life before, let alone play handball in it. Luis Cordova goes to UTEP El Paso, actually lived in Juarez, Mexico. His mom came over the border to have him in the United States in El Paso. So he's an American citizen, but he lives in Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico, and he's now trying to become a business major. He said he's honored to play one of the top players in England, Daniel Grant.
Point.
Louis Cordova with a big win here last year, taking out Pee Wee Castro in the round of 16 in the men's pro small ball.
You see the score is 16-1 on the scoreboard powered by Zions. And there's
That's
a
a
nice
good
shot
shot
right
from
there.
Dan.
But look what Cordova does. He gets the ball off the court and actually wins the point right there, Dave.
That's the old adage there, Dave. Make your opponent
17-1.
play one more ball, and look what happened.
That was a nice Timbo Gonzalez-like get from Luis Cordova.
Right out. 1-17.
A lot of chatter here, Dave, amongst the players. There's a lot of different regions coming together here, Dave, trying to represent who's got the best players. I know, Dave, Tucson will have a big say in that argument, as will Southern California and New York City.
17-1.
We'll find out here in the next couple of days who's going to take bragging rights. The Englishman sends that return high off the wall, just out of the reach of Louis Cordova Jr.
17.
Shot of the webcasted tournament thus far, Dave. Louis Cordova, tomahawk
17-1.
right corner kill from about 38 feet. For the fans watching at home, Dave, who think the courts may look a little bit different than last year, they're actually 4 feet lower. There was a gust of wind that took down
1-17.
the top deck of the plywood, and we're playing now with 16-foot high walls rather than 20.
17-1.
Courts are 23 feet wide. They go out 20 feet long right to the short line, but they're only, like you say, 16 feet. And the reason why is last year a wind gust of about 50 miles an hour just came for about 2 seconds, and it picked up about 25 tons worth of quartz on the other side and slammed them to the ground. And they brought a structural engineer out here, and they assessed that 16 feet would it be safe enough for 120 miles an hour. And we said, hey, that's great. That's what they play with in New York. That's the height of a one wall. And we're trying to appeal to the one wall players, so it worked out perfectly for us. Now, I don't know.
Speak for yourself. I actually
I don't know how it worked out for the racquetball players or someone who has a last name Fink, but I can tell you the New Yorkers liked it.
Watched rookie Wright last night challenge Dave Chapman in a small ball game of singles. Looked very comfortable on these modified through all courts.
I thought he looked good. Good enough.
Could be a sign of what's to come here throughout this week. A lot of New Yorkers here, Dave, including Mike Schneider, Saul Gonzalez, Sweeney Lee, Timbo Gonzalez, Dave Rojas, Tony Roberts, just to name a few, all of whom, Dave, contending for these pro championships. Incredible atmosphere out here, Dave. Just in the first day, we've got a DJ, we've got a sideline reporter coming to you tomorrow.
Nice.
Just a lot of energy out here, Dave. A lot of excitement. The stands already packed. Trying to catch a glimpse of
the sideline reporter. The crowds came out because they thought that she'd be here earlier, but I guess she lost her bags in a shuttle
All right, time in.
bus
We got 18-1.
on the plane. Score here is 18-1. It's one game matches to 25, and once you see this tournament progress and realize that we're at 100 degrees out here, you'll see why we're only playing one game matches.
1-18.
We've actually just hit 124 on the court, Dave. That stays in. Dan didn't want any part of running that ball down, Dave. I know that you run down everything, but as we mentioned, Dave, not everyone with your fitness level.
great camera coverage here
19-1.
from the WPH webcast crew. 19-1 is the score.
Our referee, Abe Montijo, making the call there, Dave, on the sideline, called that ball out. We don't have instant replay available.
Not yet anyway, but certainly eventually.
Looked like some chalk flew on that serve. Looked like it caught the outside of the line. No argument from either player.
There's the replay, sponsored by First Star Sports. And it's powered by Zions, the leader in sports energy drinks. Could not really tell from that camera angle whether it was in or out. But it was fun doing the replay nonetheless.
Each player will be given 3 instant replay challenges per match, Dave.
Nice shot right there from Louis Cordova.
Got his legs set, got his feet under him there to drive that kill shot into the right corner. There's that susceptible left hand from Louis Cordova. He's known as having one of the
21, serving 1.
the great right hands in the sport. Luis looks like he's not even trying, Dave, but seems to be everywhere. Picks up
22,
nearly
21.
every ball.
He has really good breakaway speed. Nice spike right there from Luis Cordova. Score now is 23-1.
23, serving 1.
That was a miss hit right there from Cordova, and Danny Grant puts him away. Cordova knew that would happen. Danny Grant, sponsored by Echelon and the WPH with Team England. You can see his shirt there. Has his name on the back. Representing the sponsors here. Nice breakaway speed, but unable to gather that ball. And another point. Actually, point number 2 for Danny Grant. And he gave himself a silent fist pump.
You see Danny Grant using the corners there, Dave. He's just started playing 3-wall about a week ago. He's already made that adjustment, pinching consecutive rally-ending shots into the corner.
The next match coming up after this one will be a round of 32 big ball pro singles match between PlayStation Andres Calle and Nacho Delgado. That actually could be a really good match. And now
Nacho Delgado suffering a cut on his left hand earlier in this week, Dave, forcing him to pull out of the small ball. Says the impact of the small ball will be a little too much.
GBY. Nacho Delgado has looks like a cast on his, I believe his right hand. And he's going to come in here and play. He still gets a top seed though.
Was it possible, Dave, that the draw committee didn't know about that broken hand before they made the seeding?
It happened after the seeds were made, and the draw committee decided that they were not going to make the change.
Well, certainly, Dave, it's difficult to get all those committee members in the same room. I know that's a pretty large committee.
24-4.
Makes these draws. Luis Cordova just a point from advancing here to the next round here. You see Luis saving his energy as much as he can.
Actually, as I look down the webcast lineup here, it's going to be Nacho Delgado versus Timbo Gonzalez. And that'll be at 2 o'clock as we watch the conclusion of that Louis Cordova, Daniel Grant match. The score there, final of 25-24.
Actually, this is a timeout here, Dave. Dan Grant using his 3rd timeout, trailing 4-24. He only needs to score 21 unanswered points. It's happened before. I've just never seen it.
There's a very winded Danny Grant from London, England, playing for Team England, sponsored by Echelon and the World Players of Handball. Talked to Danny last night, and he wants to form WPH England.
What would he need to do to go about accomplishing such a feat, Dave?
$150,000.
Oh.
Glad you asked. Now, last year you were at this event. What's the difference that you see immediately from last year to this year, besides the courts being lowered 4 feet?
Well, they have water here this year.
Okay.
I'd say that's the biggest difference.
There's sparse water in Nevada.
We
It's
also have
BYOW here.
5:24.
Certainly, Dave, the DJ adding a lot to this event. I've seen you dancing throughout this match in your seat. You even took a little break to break it down.
Cut it up. Trying to cut it up.
Now it's Dan Grant trying to cover the spread here. Louis Cordova was giving 13.5 points. And there's a bad bounce there for Dan Grant, but he makes the adjustment.
8 serving 24.
And now it's 6 consecutive points.
Serving 8.
This could be the final point of this match. And it is.
And there it is, Louis Cordova taking down Daniel Grant, score 25-8. And that wraps up our first live webcast match of this afternoon. And we have another one coming up right around the corner with Timothy Gonzalez in the round of 32 facing Nacho Delgado. That match coming up in about 10 minutes from now. You stick around for Dave Fink. My name is Dave Vincent. For Chris Garrad and Linda Manning, we'll be back in just a few. Live from the Stratosphere Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada for 3wallball.com.